Welcome back to the Food for the Faithful channel for the first vlog of 2024. May I wish you all a blessed 2024. Hope you had a very merry and happy Christmas, spent with family and friends as we were blessed enough to do. There'll only be a short written part of this vodcast, and then the rest I'm going to give a little testimony, which is only befitting for a Christian to do when they are grateful and when they have new things to share with the brethren. So, to the very short written part, I will make this into a blog, but through the blog, you can always access the vodcast because it's plugged into the vlog, or to the blog rather. Well, 2023 is a wrap. A year culminating in the foolhardy outcomes of several years during which a totalizing enterprise led by power-mad fools have created solutions to non-existent problems. Problems designed to fit their illiberal solutions aimed at taking away our freedom and confiscating our property. The actuarial analysts are wondering why they are seeing excess deaths in age groups and demographics hitherto unseen. May this totalizing enterprise of Besserwissers, who seek to create a world where 2 + 2 equals your truth, be exposed for what it is in 2024. Global Marxism. May their attempt to orchestrate humanity like cogs in a giant machine which exists solely to fulfill their narcissistic delusions be their own downfall. These 1%ers who congregate in Davos, where they seek to dominate all of humanity into forced compliance to their mass hysterical delusions. Delusions which have been created by them just so that they get to play God. May 2024 be the year when they discover that God will not be mocked. May this year see all their delusional ideation come crashing down at their feet. May this be the year in which they will be charged for crimes against humanity so that they can be tried in Nuremberg. Of course, I call myself the reluctant prophet, and I would be very reluctant to make that as a prophecy because I'm not predicting that would happen. I'm only praying to God that it will. I invite you to pray with me. Which leads me to my testimony about what's occurred over the Christmas holidays. First of all, Assyria and I had a delightful time alone. Sad for her because her children are in Norway, and I'm disassociated from my daughter. But nevertheless, we contacted family in France, and that was lovely. And we had the great blessing of being invited down to Niagara, which I still view as home, for New Year's, where we spent New Year's Eve with a bunch of the bikers from the Niagara Motorcycle Club at Sid and Kathy's place in Font Hill. It was a wonderful party with a bunch of old roustabouts. They don't get no better than that. Real people, unencumbered by ideological delusions. So while we were down, many of you wouldn't know this, but I used to host a concert series, a blues concert series on Saturday afternoons in Niagara. They began at a little place in Font Hill called the Regal Beagle. And the venue has changed names, but you still may hear Jim Casson, the old drummer from the band, and the current drummer also with Downchild Blues Band. Very, very famous and competent percussionist. He has a Sunday series there at what is now called Peter Piper's. Yeah, that's the name of the venue. It's right on the main drag in Font Hill, Highway 20. At any rate, so since I was down and visiting with Marty and Don, our dear friends that live in Effingham, we decided that we'd go visit the concert series that were started Partly as a result, and I don't mind saying this, it's not bragging, it's just the truth. In '98, when I started the concert series at the Regal Beagle in Fonthill, it became an enormous success. And musicians from southern Ontario and western New York and beyond began to congregate as guests to perform with the house band at my series. Two other shows started in imitation of the show that I began, and all three are currently extremely successful. So, when I left for Norway in 2012, late in 2012, a dear friend of mine at that time, Brant Parker, was looking for a place to live, so I subletted my loft to him and left quite a bit of stuff there, stuff that magically disappeared over the years. Nevertheless, in spite of what I believe to be careless, if not theft, careless use of my property, I refused to hold grudges and I went to hear Brant perform. Tyler Urema, who is the pianist for Downchild, was to be the guest. Very, very famous pianist here in Canada, one of our best. Sadly, Tyler was sick, but anyway, Brant put on a great show. Then after having heard them, I went off to the Regency, where the third concert series is located, and hosted by Steve Grisbrook. The guest that day was Dave Rave, and man, can he ever rave. It was a great gig, and the wife and I danced up a storm. While I was there, I ran into Mark Rogers. The other week, a friend of mine from POG, Peace, Order, and Good Governance group here in Ottawa, sent me a video of a Freedom concert in Niagara-on-the-Lake where Tamara Leach was playing with a band, and she was just rocking it up with these guys. And I looked closely, and I saw there was Mark Rogers on the drum kit, John Irvine on the bass, and Joel Parisi on the keyboards. This is a gospel band called New World Sun, and both Mark and John also perform with the LMT connection with the great Leroy Emanuel. I would say that Leroy is Niagara's premier soul and R&B artist. If you haven't heard the LMT connection, look them up on YouTube. Go hear them. They are fantastic. Anyway, there was Mark. And I had sent Mark a message asking him how he became associated with the freedom fight. And he mentioned to me that he had always been on the side of exposing this totalizing lie. And that through Joel Parisi, the piano player in New World Sun, apparently Joel's uncle, they were invited to back Tamara up at this concert, Freedom concert in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So I didn't know that Mark was a part of the freedom movement. And he hadn't answered me on when I sent him a message, but he apologized for that. And we got a hug and had a lovely chat. And I thoroughly enjoyed Grizz's new show. Grisbrook is now dating the manager of the venue, the Regency, and has become their musical director and will be booking all the entertainment there. So the Regency on Mountain Road in Niagara Falls on Saturday afternoon and other days throughout the week will become a hotbed of live music. Support live music. But in that regard, many of the people in the live music scene will no longer speak with me. At Brant Parker's gig, I took the bass player aside, Al Duffy. He used to play for Jack DeKaiser, another Maple Blues Award-winning and Juno Award-winning cat with a long history in roots music starting in rockabilly. And we got chatting, and he talked about me being a conspiracy theorist. And it's a handle that poorly describes the mindset of understanding that something is severely wrong. So first of all, I have this to say. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy. Okay? If everyone comes to believe nonsense, if mass hysteria, if what Dr. Gadd Saad, the famous evolutionary psychologist, calls idea pathogens, if people's minds become captured by ideas that are toxic, there doesn't need to be conspiracy. There just needs to be a whole bunch of people that believe the same ideologically poisoned thing. And this is the ideology that is being fomented from the sort of people that attend Davos, which of course includes our Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister and Minister Guilbeault, the Environment Minister. And they're pursuing ideas that are based, as Dr. Lindsay says, on complete simulacra. They've used the Hegelian dialectic to synthesize two opposing ideas and to create a synthesized idea that's based on absolute nonsense. Hence me talking about 2 + 2 equaling your truth. So when and the funny thing was that Al Duffy believed all sorts of conspiracies about the death of Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. He believed in all sorts of conspiracies, but then he actually stated that believing that something was wrong with the way that COVID was handled and the failure of the vaccine to stop the virus from spreading was a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy when we have empirical data proving that these things are true. So when Marx said to me, he attacked the situation of being a freedom fighter in the same way that a Christian witnesses to others about their need of Christ. And I hope all of you hope in Christ. In fact, this leads me to another and very sad conclusion. The initial series, the one that I started, lived on under the care of two lovely people, Dave Curry and his wife, Denise. On Saturday, while I was there, while the concert was going on, Dave took a heart attack, and he was being rushed to Hamilton before his condition turned worse, and by the time, he passed away, I believe, in the ambulance. And I just thought it to be so ironic that the people that had kept my concert series alive for so many years in capable hands. I was away on business. I was out of town. I was no longer capable of running it, although there was a little bit of rancor in the way that they treated me after they took over the band. But I hold no grudges, and I'm grateful and proud of what that series became. And I've been told through those in whose capable hands it continues in, Gary Kendall, the bass player from Downchild, and Jimmy Casson, the drummer from Downchild, that series will continue on as a wonderful guest series that will just find another guitar player. And it's at a venue called Joe Blow's Rock and Walk out in West St. Catharines. I strongly encourage. They start at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon, 3 shows within 15 minutes of one another. But all of these guys, they cannot stand me. They cannot abide me. Simply because I won't swallow the false narrative and speak out vocally against it. They think that this makes me a conspiracy theorist, when in fact it only makes me a realist. I don't believe there is a conspiracy. I just believe that the world, because it has rejected Christ, is receiving false doctrine from false prophets, who this year, undoubtedly, I will make a prediction now, you are going to see climate catastrophizing reach absolutely insane levels. Just as the whole COVID issue became overblown, and now they have millions of vaccines that people are unwilling to take, that they're going to have to dispose of, all at taxpayers' expense. This year will be the year of climate catastrophizing, and I predict that that will be the chief struggle between Pierre Poilievre, who's my MP right here in Carleton, in the Carleton riding, and of course our foolhardy and narcissistic selfie-taking prime minister who jets all over the world but wants to take away your vehicle. There's a reason that communists want to do that, by the way. Nothing screams freedom than the ability to get into a private vehicle and go wherever you wish to meet with whomever you wish. No more of these 15-minute cities where through some social credit system you're going to be locked into a little enclave and forced out of fellowship, which is, note that that was a huge part of COVID. Isolation from your friends and family, where grandmothers and people died without their loved ones to comfort them as they pass from this life into the next. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy. You only need to open your eyes and watch what's going on. The actuarial and analysts can't believe the increase in unexpected deaths in demographics and age groups where this just hasn't been seen before. Something is desperately wrong, and for one simple reason. People have come to believe in toxic ideation. If Christ does not renew the spirit of your mind, if you do not come to know what the hope of your calling is, you are lost. And you need to invite God to open your eyes and grant you a revelation of Christ Jesus and Him crucified and resurrected, and invite Him to change your life. I have many failures and have sinned greatly, but I confess my sin and I turn back to God for mercy. Without Him, I am lost. And frankly, in gratitude, if I had not met my present wife, Anna, I would be in dire, dire straits. It is through her that I found out what's causing this. By 2014 in Norway, I was losing my mind because it was the prototypical woke place. And I asked her honestly. Her background is military. She was trained at the Krigsskolen in Bergen, Norway. But for fun, after she'd finished her military career, she went back to university and studied architecture, or rather art history and philosophy. So I asked her, what is this? And she said, well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they talked to us about the Frankfurt School of Cultural Marxism, Billy Boy, and its critical theory. Have you read up about that? And I said, no. Well, you better read up on it now, because that's what you're seeing. So everything, and this is Dr. James Lindsay's great gift. He has analyzed this to the nth degree. Watch New Discourses and Dr. James Lindsay. Everything they're doing is based on critical theory of cultural Marxism. And it's all a bridge to take us from this woke nonsense into full Marxism, where they're going to collapse the economy. They will confiscate your property. And the state under global leadership will dictate everything. Your faith, your family, and your property are being attacked by this radical ideology. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy. There just needs to be a whole bunch of people whose minds have become infected by this perverse mindset. Please wake up and see that our ancestors weren't so far wrong. This nation was founded, my own righteous ancestors, my great-great-grandfather, whom I'm named after, came to Canada to establish Methodist missions, to teach school, and to farm. And because of them, Canada was founded as a Christian nation under God. I want to read something to you. This was a test from 1966 given to all of those that were attending Teachers College in Ontario. Please answer all of these 5 questions. Each one is of equal value. The paper is set to be written in a period of approximately 30 minutes. 1. Comment on the influence brought to bear on Jesus in his early life. 2. How did Jesus overcome the temptations in the wilderness? 3. Give your opinion of some of the reasons for the miracles performed by Jesus and illustrate. 4. Name 5 different kinds of prayers and illustrate each one by a short sentence. And 5. Enlarge on what Jesus meant by the 2 great commandments. Look at how far we've fallen since '66. Our teachers now are solely responsible for telling children that they could possibly be any sex they want. We have gone from God to full madness, and until we return to him, corporately, collectively, I pray that Pierre Poilievre be given the wherewithal to develop true moral fiber, to stand for the truth against this woke Marxist idiocy. Pray that with me. And I ask that God would bless all of you with the knowledge of the truth in 2024 and bless you all richly in that revelation. We'll see you soon on this channel with the Reluctant Prophet, where you get more food for the faithful.